So hi everyone, I hope you're well today and looking forward to our short session, the Dharma session. And just to remind you, the purpose of chanting is to absorb our mind with the teachings. There's actually teachings within the prayers. Of course, these prayers are very short, like compressed in a sense, with deeper meaning the more you explain them. Of course, I've given some explanation of these prayers before. And so if you like to have another look at those, then you should do so. Always remind yourself and, clarify any parts that you don't understand fully. And then memorize these prayers so that you can access them at any time. So in saying that, now we'll actually recite them. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Payata Gati Gati Para Samgati Bodhi Soha. Tayatam gati gati para samgati buddhiso. Tayatam gati para samgati buddhiso. And so I'll also share with you the way that we do the chanting. I've tried to keep it reasonably close to the traditional ways, but also putting, I guess, my own spin, if you could say, on the spacing, on the timing, what to chant, or what is one line. Like, for instance, in the Bodhicitta, generating Bodhicitta prayer, I split that up into 3 lines, even though the original Tibetan is in 4 lines. I thought it for meaning's sake, as well as breath, the amount, not to try to or make it difficult for ourselves, but also not making it too short, So I just thought I'd share that with you. I have had some people in the past, especially from Theravada tradition in India, they saying that the way that I do the chanting of Namo Tassa and Buddham saranam is not the right way. And I have got back to them with some good humor in the past and said, what is the right way? I understand what you mean, but this for an English speaker or English speakers of which I'm teaching and sharing with, this actually is better. And some of the other languages, of course, Pali is a different, you emphasize different parts, and so I actually prefer the way we do it. That's why we continue to do it that way. But of course, I love all the chanting from all the traditions as well, so the chanting, as I've mentioned before, is also a good way to focus the mind before listening to teachings, before doing some meditation practice, whether that's the breath meditation to develop samadhi using the shamatha method, or whether it's penetrative insight meditation, the vipassana meditation. And I think it's good to do the chanting beforehand because it does tend to bring the mind in here, engage your body, engage your speech, and engage your mind at the same time. All right, so now get yourself in a good position for some meditation. We'll keep the different parts of the meditation very brief so that we have a decent length of time for the Dharma talk. And so first we will release the tension in the body. Gently close your eyes, lips gently touching, tongue resting on the upper palate, in the mouth. Shoulders nice and relaxed without being lazy or slouching. And bring your mind inside your body, starting from the tips of the toes. Work your way up the body to the shoulders, then down to the tips of the fingers, and then back up to the top of your head. So take a few moments to do this now. Now scan your body once more to see if there's any leftover tension that you can release. And now bring your focus to placing your mind onto your breath. Place the mind initially at the tip of the nose as you breathe in, and follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe all the way into your lungs, and then back out your nose again. If thoughts arise, or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it, don't grasp at it. Also, don't try to force it away or deny it, but simply and naturally let it go and replace your mind back onto your breath. If your mind starts to become dull, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. And if you're so inclined, you can add the extra technique of counting the breaths. One in-breath and one out-breath is one, and so on. Don't count past 10. And if you get distracted while making your way towards 10, then go back to 1 at that time. So let's practice like this in silence for a little bit. So now we can feel very pleased with ourselves for engaging in the practice and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness. Make sure you have this honest feeling of universal loving kindness pervading your whole being. And you can utilize some visualization if you like, filling yourself with white light or white nectar. Really appreciate yourself, respect yourself. Be friendly towards yourself. And realize that to truly do this, to bring this benefit to ourselves, we must benefit others. And to benefit others, we must benefit ourselves. So now radiate so much of this loving kindness that it overflows outwards and radiates initially to our loved ones, family and friends, and fills them with the universal loving kindness too. Let's radiate further and further now to include strangers, those people that you're indifferent towards. And even to those people that you may regard as enemies. May all of these people be happy, free from suffering. May they be peaceful. May their hearts be full of loving kindness and compassion. Now radiate further and further distance-wise, initially around your immediate area, and radiate this loving kindness to all living beings now. All living beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born. And wish that they are all happy, free from suffering, and that they're peaceful. All of the living beings that live in the waters, on the land, and fly through the air, so on. Now radiate further and further distance-wise to include all of those living beings and all of nature throughout your state or county. Radiating this universal love and kindness out further and further, gathering so much momentum now throughout other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world, those you're familiar with and have an affinity towards, those you're indifferent towards, and those that you may have a negative feeling towards, until your loving kindness pervades throughout all of the planets, all of the countries throughout this planet, and also throughout the oceans, and bring to mind that there is so much more life in the oceans than there is on the land, apparently. Have your loving kindness go to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. And now beyond this planet, throughout the whole solar system. And throughout the whole galaxy. Throughout the whole universe. Until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. Whilst understanding that we're all interconnected, interdependent. We're going to switch techniques for a couple of minutes to the Tonglen Tibetan words, giving-taking meditation. So bring to mind compassion, the suffering of all living beings in samsara. And wish to free them from this suffering. Take it upon yourself and then let it go. So use the visualization technique as you inhale, breathe in, then you take the black smoke from all sentient beings' heart center or centers into your own heart center, melting away your ego, self-centeredness, and relieving them from suffering. And as you exhale, breathe out, then give the white light that represents all of your goodness, merits, good karma, all of the things that you find pleasurable, you give to others helping yourself to be free from attachment, and helping them to be happy. So the white light leaves your heart center and enters into their heart centers. So let's do this inhaling and exhaling technique of giving-taking meditation for a short while. Really have the feeling that you're freeing them from suffering as you breathe in, and giving them the happiness as you breathe out, whilst at the same time destroying your ego, helping yourself to be free from self-centeredness and attachment. So once again, you can feel very pleased with yourself now for engaging in this very short session. And I will remind you again, when you engage in these meditations in your own time, or even with friends or something, then you should do longer. Really bring to mind this compassionate heart, this bodhicitta intention, generate this intention and contemplate the suffering of others. And pay attention to each detail. And like I said, just do slightly longer meditations than we do here. So now let's dedicate all of our merits to the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And I thought today we'd regenerate, you could say, this bodhicitta, okay? So generating the mind for enlightenment with those 3 verses that you recited after me maybe a month or so ago now. But we'll just do them once because of the time constraints. And so just in case this is also to remind you that these prayers are, or this prayer, you could say, is very easy to access on the internet, or you could transcribe from the video from this class, for instance. And I really encourage you to do this prayer every day. And if not, just bring it to mind. It's we're utilizing these words to understand the meaning behind it, and then to actually generate this bodhicitta, this awakened mind of enlightenment. Okay, so repeat after me. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach supreme enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening, for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, I too shall remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So that's why I wanted to do it today, just to remind you, if you forgot, maybe that was the first time you heard that one and then forgot a little while later, but also to encourage you to, it's very short. Doing it 3 times is best. Sometimes people think that, we do things 3 times. There's some sort of like cosmic power thing going on or magic or something, but no, it's really to absorb the mind with it. I think the first time we do it, maybe we're not paying 100% attention. That's the way I take it anyway. I could be wrong. Maybe we do it 3 times. There is some magic. I think a lot of religions and spiritual paths, they actually do things 3 times. There's something about that number, but who knows? Okay, so don't worry about that. So where am I resuming here? There's like 2.5 pages of my notes for this to go. We've been pretty much covering a page each class. So I'd say that this week, next week, and the week after, then we finish up on this first verse and move on to the second verse. Okay, so I'm taking my time, very detailed, as I promised you. And I hope for some of you that may have heard this before, you're not getting bored with me. Hopefully not. If you are, let me know and I'll start telling jokes. I'll start dancing or something. Actually, if maybe the dancing is the joke. It's something I cannot do and can't do anyway, shouldn't do. So Bodhisattva, I finished up last week by saying Bodhisattvas are wisely selfish and ordinary beings are foolishly selfish. And just to reiterate on that, as we practice towards, on the Bodhisattva path to full awakening, full enlightenment, we're utilizing this self, we're utilizing ourself as we are right now to eventually go beyond that. We're utilizing it on the path to enlightenment, where, as you could say, the ordinary beings that are not practicing the Dharma, then they actually are being selfish and reinforcing that selfishness, continually causing suffering. So another way to put that, if we just use the words happiness and suffering, is the Bodhisattva is wisely selfish, and wisely selfish because working the way to engaging in the causes of happiness and realizing happiness, avoiding engaging in the causes of suffering and therefore avoiding suffering, and engaging in the path to enlightenment by abandoning the causes of the suffering and adopting these good qualities that we need to adopt, nurture, and eventually perfect on the path to enlightenment. That's wise. But, if all of our lives are just trying to satisfy our senses like most people in the world do, I find that really sad. I feel a lot of empathy and compassion, of course, for the people that are struggling and suffering a lot. But those people also that have really good conditions, maybe previous lives they've been generous or something, and they have maybe a lot of material wealth, but the way they behave is just, they may not be going out and murdering people, things like that, but they're just utilizing the good karma that they've created, the merit that they may have created. They're wasting it, really, not engaging in the Dharma practice or any form of morality a lot of the time. And just wasting it, just every day going out, using these good conditions and just wasting it. Sort of like, if you can say having a bank, you've got a certain amount of money in the bank, but they're not putting more in to utilize. Again, eventually that money will be exhausted. And so we shouldn't do that, okay? You could say this like 3 times in this case. Previous time creates these good conditions, but he wasted in this time, next time, bad conditions. That's put very simply and very quickly for convenience today. You could call that the 3 generations. It can also be explained over 3 lifetimes, can be explained through 3 generations of a family, for instance. I'll try to remember to explain that in a future class as well, okay? Or you can look it up and shoot me some questions on it. So there we are. If we only think of ourselves and disregard others, we remain unhappy and miserable. Time has come to think more wisely. I mentioned that. I finished up last week's class with that statement. Why not now? If not now, when? Future never comes. So really, practice now, okay? Give up regret for maybe not practicing as well as you could have in the past. Don't worry about that. It's gone. Learn from it and practice here and now. Can we really change our attitude? Is it possible to change our attitude from being selfish to being altruistic? Of course. In fact, if you can think about it, let's say right now you were in a bad mood. You can change that bad mood by simply thinking of something that you like. It's a very simple example. Or if you're in a good mood right now, by thinking about something that you're, regretting or holding a grudge, something like that, then you can bring yourself down very quickly. You can see the mind can be changed. It is changing all the time, even though on occasions it doesn't appear to be doing that. Maybe we're hanging on to things, or wishing for something all the time. So basically, yes, of course you can change your attitude. It's easy to do so once we get into the habit of making the effort. And of course, knowing how to do it and then implementing it, okay? The mind is quite strange and peculiar. It's sometimes very stubborn. Our ego is very stubborn and very tricky, very difficult to change sometimes because we are hanging on to this idea of self. And it's like I said, it's almost like we have this attachment to being distracted, have this attachment to not having to face reality, to look at our faults so that we know what it is we need to purify and relinquish. Not even looking at our good qualities. Maybe we're sometimes so attached to wanting to be upset, thinking that this is exciting. I used to think that with people years ago, and a lot of people get very angry quickly, and it's almost like they're enjoying that anger. And then at the end of the anger, they think, oh, it's good, I didn't bottle it up. But actually what actually happened was reinforce the habit of reacting like that, So it may feel okay for a short while. Oh, yes, got rid of it. The volcano has erupted. Got rid of the lava. But actually continuing the habit. So the mind can be very stubborn. Now, let's laugh at ourselves. I've mentioned this before. Be a little bit lighthearted with yourself. When you're stubborn, look at it and go, oh, okay, fair enough. Need to change that. But with continual effort, with the conviction based on reasoning, logical reasoning, our minds are sometimes quite honest, isn't it? We can be very honest to ourselves, whether this is thinking about good things, bad things, or indifferent things. Obviously the good things increase, bad things eradicate. Indifferent things, maybe put your mind back onto good qualities at that time too. Okay, so our mind can be quite honest, which is really what we're after. We want to be honest to ourselves. Okay, very important. When we feel the need to change, our mind is actually quite easy to change. When we really genuinely have a feeling that we want to change, then we can make the effort to change the mind, and the mind can be changed. With conviction and reason, a good reason, and based on logical reasoning, based on experiential knowledge, we can transform the mind over time. Utilize this mind to contemplate what is real, what is not real, what is right, what is wrong, etc. Okay? Utilize the mind. We are very curious living beings. Give up the stubbornness. Work towards positive change. Work to developing this bodhicitta intention and realizing the supreme wisdom, utilizing your ability to investigate and analyze your own mind, okay? The bodhicitta intention is definitely achievable and within our reach. If it wasn't, the Buddha wouldn't have given these teachings. I wouldn't be given the teachings. I stay silent, But it's very achievable in this lifetime. You can achieve this working in the right direction with the right amount of effort, okay? Next page says, should we begin with thinking about only a few beings' well-being, our loved ones? I think a lot of people would think that. And on occasions, I do teach that, but working the way towards opening the mind more and more to be all beings, even though it's still an abstract idea for us at the moment. Then, of course, expand and increase the parameters. Not the parameters as in the 6 parameters there, but the wideness, vastness. How can we possibly focus on all beings? That's a question that we can ask ourselves. And it is true, it's difficult. But you don't have to think of every single living being, even though it includes every single living being. It's impossible for us right now to know all beings. Even if we think of different types of species, one being from each of these species is very difficult. So we can think all living beings. It's possible for us to do that. And of course, I'll go into that more next week, but you may feel that the infinite sentient beings in the multitude of world systems and universes have nothing to do with your experience as an individual. But that is actually untrue. We are all affecting each other. Very difficult to understand that, but eventually you can understand that. That we only have a connection with the beings in this world, we may feel. But actually go beyond that. Think about the loving kindness meditation. It allows us to, even though it's still an abstract idea, have to use our imagination. We can realize that we are interconnected with all beings and the whole of infinite space. It's just gone under 1 minute, so I'll finish what I can. This is valid. Thinking like this, that I can't do this, I have to start with a small amount. How can I think of other beings? It is valid, but it's very limited. Okay, we can't develop this immeasurable loving kindness, compassion, this altruistic bodhicitta, okay? And that's our goal. We need this. It's essential in the Dharma path to full enlightenment, along with the supreme wisdom, of course. That'll do, because the next bit is a couple of paragraphs. So I will explain next week how you can do it and the benefits of doing it. The more you can do this, the more vast amounts of merit that you generate, that you create. So I rejoice in your goodness as always.